start with one of them.
Start as soon as
Okay.
ready? All right. I'll call to order the special city council meeting for July 26, 2021. Everyone please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Steve Cherney is absent. Kevin Kadada.
Here.
Tim Rude.
Here.
Cindy Fier.
Here.
And Scott Palava.
Here.
Okay, tonight's agenda, there's one item to discuss the city's 2022 annual budget, and additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion by Councilman Palava,
Second.
second by Councilperson Peters. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. No minutes, no public hearings, presentation of citizens' petitions and comments limited to 2 minutes. If not on the agenda, now is your opportunity to speak. Okay, nothing on the consent agenda, there is no old business. On to new business, discuss the city's 2022 annual budget. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This is the fourth scheduled, but actually the third meeting but on the budget. The last one was canceled. The focus of tonight, with that said, what we've went over, short and long-term needs of each community, staffing levels, equipment, capital improvement projects, wages, benefits, American Rescue Plan funding, and debt service levy relative to the overall property tax levy. At the last meeting, it was the consensus of the council to set the levy at $2,445,000, which results in a tax rate of 58.078. That is with the assumption that values are going up 5% on average. It's a 3.9% increase in the tax rate over this year. Additional revenue is just under $204,000, and at least the properties that we've been tracking historically, those tax increases range from $84.68 to $263.65. The main focus of tonight's meeting will be parks. The park board is here. Ben will give that presentation, and then the public works will be given a presentation as well on their needs. So with that, I should say we have a planning commission meeting at 7:30. We've got 2 public hearings. We got a hard stop 7:20, 25, if it goes that long.
That's fine with us, me anyway.
So I guess with that, I'd answer any questions. Otherwise, I'll turn it over to Ben to go over the presentation.
Okay, before we turn over to Ben, I want to give a big shout out to the flower lady. Those flowers in town look awesome. Very
They've been
nice.
taking great care of them too, that helps.
So thank you. Thank you for all your work. Very nice. Okay, Mr. Baker.
I do have the presentation that Ben put together for tonight. So I'll broadcast that out.
While Joel's bringing that up, I'm gonna invite Lane up he's the TCU Community Ed Director, and we'll let him go early tonight, so. Lane, if you want to come up and give an update on TCU Community Ed.
Just know if I step over that.
Murphy Law, right?
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members, for giving me the opportunity to talk about TCU community education, and of course, City Administrator Erickson and Ben back here for asking me to give a little talk here. So, for those of you that I have not met before, my name is Lane Mulbright. I am the TCU Community Education Director. I've been here for about three years. Came over from LeSueur Henderson. It's always a pleasure to come over and talk to the council. I typically get the chance to talk to each one of the councils in the district at least once a year, outside of COVID this past year. So it's great to be there and participate and go to the community events. And Scott, I don't know if I'm in trouble for missing the chamber meeting today or not, but I wasn't able to be there.
No.
Okay, all right, well, that's
We're
good.
It
So,
happens.
But anyway, so I just want to talk a little bit about some of our program. Obviously, we do partner with Summer Rec, and I'll get into that, but we do pretty wide swath of things here with community education. The easiest way I describe it is we do majority of the things outside of the K-12 system. We do it from anywhere from preschool to our 0 to 5 kids to adult basic education, where we're getting people coming in to try to work on their GEDs, diploma, job skill training. It's all right across the board of what we do and everything kind of in between. So one of the highlights that we do have here in Lonsdale is we've been doing our summer rec program in partnership with the city of Lonsdale for a couple of years now. It has gone pretty well. Outside of last year, because of COVID, we still hosted it and still had a little bit of fun, not quite as much fun as we had the previous year. And this summer kind of started off a little bit slow because of COVID rules and things that we were able to do and things we weren't able to do. So, but anyway, so our partnership here is we run our summer rec program. And we typically get that 25 to 30 kids each year that participate in that. It's a 6-week program, Monday through Thursday in the mornings. Kids that show up, they can get a meal before and or after. Through our summer food program this year, it was curbside pickup only on Mondays and Wednesdays, but those kids have got the opportunity to take some food home, which is always a great opportunity for those families that could sure use it. So our summer rec program, the way the partnership works is everybody registers through us, and then we run a kind of a full program to the best of our abilities, and anything that any expenses that we do have over the top of revenues, we do have an allotment here with the city of Lonsdale to do some of that program. And I think this current year, I believe it was $3,500 to do that. So our summer rec program, we are busy. We are absolutely busy. The kids show up. We spend most of the time outside. Get in the gymnasium if need be to kind of cool off a little bit, and we do have an arts project typically tied to summer rec, so it's not always just go outside and run. We do have kind of an aspect of getting in and doing a little bit of educational opportunities as well. What we found successful starting 3 years ago when I first came here, we do have like a theme each week: nature, Olympics, because of the Olympics, obviously. We've done like America's pastimes with baseball, football. The kids get a choice week, which adds to a lot of fun, and it makes it easier for planning too. So the kids kind of know going into the week some of the things that are going to be expected to do. Starting in July this past year, or this month, I guess, things started loosening up for us a little bit. We started getting more guidance from the Minnesota Department of Health and Minnesota Department of Education. Things were coming down from the state to where we could actually start doing a little bit of field trips. 2 years ago during summer rec, we were able to go full go. We took trips to the Riverbend Nature Center. We went to the Nye Nature Center. We went canoeing. We did all these other things. Each week we had a field trip going on. It wasn't until basically the week after the 4th to where we were allowed to start doing some of these things. So we lifted our field trip guidance a little bit and tried to do some things in the district. We didn't travel outside of the district, so things came really quick. We spent a lot of time trying to work with organizations that would be willing to work with us, and some didn't travel, some couldn't host anybody because of COVID still. But we were able to take the kids from Lonsdale. We went to the Montgomery Pool twice. Gave them an opportunity to hop in the pool, and their last day was actually today that they hopped in the pool. Over there, they went canoeing with the DNR last week. We took them out to, I think it's Union Lake, Albers Park over there by the, over there. We did that 2 years ago. That was a big success. We have a gentleman, Scott from the DNR, that puts on that program. It's a free program outside of transportation, and that's something that the kids really highlight and enjoy. Scott's done some of that programming for us for the last couple of years. Montgomery went canoeing today. Tomorrow, La Center's going canoeing. So it's always a pretty popular opportunity. Something a little bit different this year. We've been working with a gentleman from the Remarkable Reptiles. He's out in Webster. His name is Jim. His last name I'm misplacing right now. But Jim has a variety of... Huh? Something like that, yeah. Yep. So Jim, we were going to work with Jim last year, and obviously because of COVID we couldn't. And so we decided to bring him back this year, and here in Lonsdale, Marguerite Moran she's our library director here in Lonsdale. Her and I partner each year on a program or two, and we were gonna bring him in last year, and we weren't able to, so we brought him in this year, and so what he does, he's got gives a nice 45-minute, 60-minute presentation on reptiles. He brings in a few different Minnesota-based turtles and a variety of lizards, and he brings in like 6 or 7 different snakes. And kind of the highlight of the day, the kids get to take a picture and pet a boa constrictor.
Oh my
So
gosh.
It's very popular.
It is very,
Very popular
yep,
program.
it is very popular, and yeah, I mean, the kids get a kick out of all the snakes. He's got I think it's a corn snake that's like 7 feet long, but when he pulls out the boa, it's a little bit different. The kids get to touch it, and it feels like a basketball, and so Jim does a good job. We did a sip and paint program in July. We were able to bring somebody in to do that. And then lastly, we're gonna be doing like a build your own pizza kit on Thursday. This Thursday is our last day of summer rec. So next year, it's back to normal. 2 years ago, when we were able to do this, each week we were doing something. You know, so when we had like a nature themed week, you know, we went over to the 9 Nature Center, we did something with, you know, the Riverbend Nature Center and stuff like that, so we're expecting to be picking up for lost time because of this COVID nightmare with that, so.
How many kids did you say attend some of these programs?
We have 27 that are registered. Now, not all kids show up every day, because I know when the kids came over today to go swimming, I know there was at least 6 kids that were in the football camp out there, so, but it's busy. You know, they're busy, they have a great time. Lexi Fronick is been our lead here this is her 3rd year, and she does a fantastic job, and the kids have a great time. So, pretty excited to have that program going, and this in our partnership here with the city of Lonsdale. Just a couple other highlights here about community education. As you know, we run a preschool program here. We have a 2-day AM, 3-day AM, and a 5-day PM. We already have 65 kids registered for this incoming school year, which is start in 5-6 weeks for us. Quite a few yet that are out there, probably going to let us know at the last minute, so we'll throw some things together for them. But we're excited to have that. We're going to have a couple different sections of the 5-day PM and 3-day AM, and then of course we tie in our early childhood family education classes, typically for families that got kids that have 0 to 3, and come in and get some parenting networking and stuff in with other parents, and get to meet some other people, and they do some different activities with the kids and talk about parenting, things like that. So that's always good. We have 32 kids sign up for our Kids Zone childcare program. We offer a childcare program year-round. In the summertime, it basically runs from 6:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., Monday through Friday. And then during the school year, we have before and after school childcare that we offer. And then what we started here about, this will be going into our 3rd year, we started a WRAP childcare program. And what that is basically, if we have kids that are in our 5-day PM preschool, and we offer childcare during the school day. So the kids could come to us, say, in the morning before preschool, and they can stay with us until lunchtime. We get them lunch, then we'll send them off to their preschool. And it could work too if the kids are like in a 2-day or 3-day AM class, they could stay with us after preschool. This is one of our big programs adjustments that we did a couple years ago, and that came off the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation childcare study. They did a 20-county childcare study and the need of every community. It didn't matter if you were a community of 500 all the way up to 105,000 of Rochester. And our biggest numbers for our childcare program of the 3 communities is here in Lonsdale. And the top 10 needs for childcare in the 20-county study, Initiative Foundation, Lonsdale was in it. And that was compared to the Rochesters that were known as the Mankato's. So that's why we already have 12 kids sign up for our WRAP program during the day, and more than likely there'll be more. But we've always had big numbers here for childcare, just because there was a need. Let's see here. We hosted a successful archery camp and junior robotics class in Lonsdale here this summer. That went over very well. We're working with the Three Rivers Park District on a kayak program that's going to be at the Cedar Farm Regional Park here and after a while. From April until June, we had soccer going on. We had 215 kids signed up across the district in soccer, which are some pretty good numbers. Jeanette in the background, she's no longer with us in soccer, but she was a big asset to us over the years, and she was a good resource for us this year because we were growing so fast and so big. Here in Lonsdale, we had 5 teams from U4 level to U8, and then our U16s were practicing here as well until their season ended. And then, of course, we have a variety of sports and other enrichment programs that happen here in Lonsdale year-round. So just a couple new, different little bit of highlights here. We'll be doing our annual TCU New Teacher District Tour on August 25th. We'll be meeting the mayor and Mr. Erickson here at Betts Park again. We'll be bringing our staff members, new ones, all the way across the district. We stop at a few different places. We tour, give them a tour of every one of the school buildings, and then we stop in the community and typically try to meet with at least the city administrators or mayors and Chamber of Commerce directors, and if there's an opportunity, maybe tour a business. You know, it all depends. We only have them for about 4.5 hours in the morning, so we got a lot of traveling to do. So, but we give them a full tour of the district and talk about highlights of each community, and the mayor always does a fantastic job of talking about Lonsdale. So we always really enjoyed that. Last year we did it at Betts Park because in the past he's gotten on the bus with Joel, and he's talked, and we just kind of drove around Lonsdale, and well, it hasn't worked, and that actually worked out pretty well last year at Betts Park. So outside of having bad weather, that's what we're going to do again. So our teachers and staff will be returning in less than a month. So I was just telling Jeanette in the back that the last month, that's all of our meetings have been wrapped around talking about coming back to school, which is a sign this summer is ending, unfortunately. One thing that's we started a little bit last year, and it was a little bit difficult to kind of run with, but we got through it. But the Rice County, Lonsdale is in the Rice County United Way territory, and they will provide funding for preschool scholarships, and we applied last year and this year, and we're getting $2,100 from the Rice County United Way for preschool scholarships. And the way it works and the idea of these preschool scholarships is these would be for like families that may not qualify for our Pathways 2 scholarship funding. We get a good chunk of money from the state for our Pathways 2 scholarship funding, but these are only for people that, you know, because of their income level, they get those dollars. These dollars from the Rice County United Way, it could be for somebody that says, you know what, they're a young family, they'd love to send their kid to preschool, but they just graduated college, got tuition, and they got a house payment, they just can't afford it. They'd love to, but that's where this money would come in to help send those families there. Or it could be somebody that's got you know, multiple kids at that age, and they just can't swing sending 2, maybe 3 kids to preschool. That's where some of the support goes in, because we would rather get them in before kindergarten than have no experience at all. So we're excited to have that, so we've been trying to get the word out about that. So there's always an opportunity, nobody gets turned away with that. Lastly, for those of you that may know, but Mary Simon, she has been our community education coordinator for a long time. She was, I think she's been with the school district, you know, even when it was Montgomery Lonsdale in the 90s. She is retiring, and which is a well-deserved retirement. Her last day is Thursday, so we're having a little kickoff, little retirement party for her, kind of a small one in-house, and to send her on her way. She's got a lot of big plans, a lot of activities. She's pretty busy, so well-deserved with that. And then, so that position we filled internally with Jessie Seepson. She has been our youth enrichment / Kids Zone Child Care coordinator for quite a few years, so she'll be stepping into that role, which hopefully is getting approved if it hasn't been approved already at the special school board meeting tonight. So we're excited for Mary to have her opportunity to retire, and well-deserved, and we're going to be moving forward. So we'll probably eventually, once Jessie gets settled, we'll probably pop over to each one of the communities and introduce Jessie, and we'll talk a little bit with Joel and Ben, and just kind of make our way around so she gets a little bit more acquainted with the district, because some of the groups and things that Mary was doing with the sports rec and some of the adult enrichment are going to be a little bit of a change for her, so we're going to go around and start getting introduced to everybody. So that's it.
Okay.
That's what I have. Hope it didn't go too long, Ben. I'm sorry.
No, it's
That was 2 minutes?
That was 2 minutes.
Thank you for all your efforts. It's great to partner with the schools, of course.
Yeah.
And you've got a great relationship with these.
Yep.
schools.
Appreciate everything that the city of Lonsdale does for us. It's a great relationship.
Thank you. Nice
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you.
So going on to our Parks, Trails, Open Space, and Recreation presentation. Try to just go through this quickly. We do have quite a few members from our park board here tonight, so they can pop in anytime with comments or questions.
You want to introduce them, or do you want me to? Or?
Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Okay. Vicky Zizowski has been on the board for how many years now?
Gotta be over 10.
And how about Jeanette?
I'm, as long as she had, 6 months difference.
And how about the flower lady?
I think I'm the veteran, I don't know, 12?
12?
13
Okay.
years?
Okay. Well, thank you for all your volunteerism. Very much. Appreciate all your advice and thoughts and all for the betterment of the community. Very nice. Okay, Ben.
So the staff that we have, obviously, like Public Works, there's quite a few staff members that work with the parks. The top staff members there are Joel, myself, John, and then Russ, and then, of course, the park board members. And then we thank the council for all their support over the years for getting the parks to where they are. We have 15 parks, which is pretty remarkable for Lonsdale's size, and they're very nice parks, very well maintained. Each park is a little different and offers some different things. I think it was, Lane was talking about it earlier, meeting at Vets Park, but Vets in the middle of town is just a tremendous park there with, along with the Main Street Plaza, the fountain, and the pub tables, and the sandbox, and then, of course, the Veterans Memorial. And then we do try to reach all seasons, so we do look at wintertime sports as well, like ice hockey and ice skating. Trichka Park, as you know, is finishing up. This is quite the initiative that we've had over the past few years. Very generous donations, grant money from the DNR, the liquor store. It's just been a terrific project. So we're just finishing up on phase 2, which is the next slide there. Phase 1 was the soccer fields, the parking lot along Main Street, and then we did finish that trail. A lot of people, I know Mickey, they walked on it quite a bit, but it would used to be just gravel along Main Street that people would walk on, and so finishing that trail was before Harmony Meadows. We don't know when exactly that'll come in, but to finish that and make that connection with the Main Street project was great, especially since we have this amenity down on Idaho and Main Street now. So it does fit quite a few little fields in there. There's one full-size field that it fits as well, so if TCU ever needs to practice or play games, they certainly can do that there. We do have a goose problem, a geese problem down there, so still trying to figure that out. And then phase 2 was, of course, the beautiful ice rink, which can be used in summer and winter. And then the pavilion building, which has the picnic shelter, outside picnic shelter, air-conditioned indoor area, and heated warming house, so it can be used in summer or winter. And then 3 bathrooms, and then the Zamboni room. So very nice facility, and people can rent this out. I think there was a chamber event there last month. We didn't go inside, but it was plenty of space outside. It was a nice day that we had that event there. And now the parking lot was recently paved, so sidewalk that goes on mostly around it. And then you can, if you're a lazy parent, you can be up on top and just watch your kids from your car if you want in the air conditioning. Or in hockey, you can stay inside your car in the heat and watch your kids skate. So, but yeah, just an awesome facility. There is a phase 3. We're not sure exactly when that will be, but that would be some play equipment. And play equipment is always evolving. And there's different surfaces now that they offer, all sorts of different surfaces besides like the engineered wood fiber. And then they just have such neat amenities or play structures that we never saw 10, 15 years ago. So like the net climber that we have in the zip line, and so over time we'll try to replace some of those with some of the the latest and the greatest equipment needs. So, yeah, if we did try to go after that, we probably would apply for the grant, the DNR grant again, and then try to get half of that paid for, so. That would be phase 3, which would be north of the parking lot. In the past, we've always talked about a water amenity. I know Shelley Narum was on the board. She was a big advocate for the splash pad, which communities do have and are used. We've talked about different ways of doing that, where that could be located. That's a future water amenity that could be looked at, way down the road, maybe when the town becomes like 8,000 to 12,000 people, you could look at more of like the water park. I think that's a picture of Wasika's water park there. And then otherwise, probably the quickest way to get to something would be just doing more of a natural pond, but all these are probably a ways in the future, would need some kind of special grant or funding resources to make them happen, so. Or if there was some kind of a community center, referendum or funding approved, more of an indoor, whether it be ice rink or pool type thing. So again, those are way into the future, but we just, keep them in the back of our heads so that we, know to plan for them. Moving on to the next page. Lonzo, we try to do a good job and lead by example by paving everything that we've had over the last 5 to 10 years and newer, because we do require that in the residential areas. Even if you're going to do a parking pad next to your garage, you do have to pave that, or if you're going to be a new commercial facility, you have to pave your parking lot. So, but we do have some gravel parking lots left out there, so it'd just be a choice for the park board and the council to see if that's a priority. So every year goes by, they get a little bit more expensive to pave, so it's, of course Trenda would be the biggest one. Otherwise JC Park, Kalina, and Stika would still need pavement at some point. I know Russ had talked about potentially doing Stika Park, because it's just right off of industrial, along with kind of a resurfacing project that would go right by there, so that could be done jointly.
Is there,
That time we would redo the curbs too, that are just the back cut off.
I didn't plan that for that, when they were cut off and stamped off. They work the way they are. That would be an additional expense.
Lead by example.
Additional expense.
Right, right.
has there been, are you familiar with the mix of millings and crushed concrete? That's a substantial savings. Is that durable enough for something like that, or?
I don't know, it's fairly new.
Okay.
I don't know that it's really been proven yet.
Okay.
I'm afraid of it in the frost cycles. I
Okay.
don't know, you can get the compaction like you can with the asphalt.
Okay. This is something I recently learned about,
Yep.
so I just,
Yep.
okay.
I mean, it's better than the gravel.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
absolutely.
And Trenda Park originally, that was all, or we had millings in there, and that's
Mhm.
kind of, it never really bonded.
Right.
It's still just kind of stayed black gravel.
The JC Park did really well with the action, but the Trenda one, that one never really.
Yeah, the millings by themselves don't work, but like you say, if they're mixed with concrete
Yep.
or, a recycle or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Going on to some highlighted items. I know coming up on Thursday, we ended up getting some donation money from the Tri-Lakes Sportsman Club to help us replace our targets. So we'd be looking to budget for that for next year. I'm probably doing that in the spring so they could be used in the summer and fall. And then there's just some miscellaneous items that some of our retaining walls and our timber walls. There's just some minor work that needs to be done to those. Otherwise, they look beautiful, and if you get up real close, you can see just some of the things that need to be done. So there's some maintenance work there. We do need more pet base stations, so we'd be looking to get a little bit of money for that. And then, again, kind of like things that we don't want to forget about, but the 3R Landmark School, although it gets used limited throughout the year, we went by there the other day, and the places where we didn't replace the siding boards is gonna need some work over the next year or two, probably. Either replacing those boards that we didn't replace before and repainting them, or just going with all paint again, repainting the whole building, so.
Was it damaged from the hailstones?
Not really from what I saw.
Really?
As far as completed maintenance items, we're having a tough time with all the people that donated towards the Vets Memorial, those there was some sticky stuff on the backside of those nameplates that kept coming off. I think just with the feed mill dust and the hot and cold, we'd always feel, in the spring, they'd always find a bunch of them laying on the sidewalk. So the Public Works guys figured out, we had talked about maybe doing plexiglass over the top, but they laid these metal plates underneath, and they really look good. Look, they've always been there, and they actually work really well. So thanks to Public Works for figuring that out. And then thanks to Cadadas for helping with the Lions Park and the Public Works. They did a good job of restoring that shelter, adding new concrete. There's a new ped ramp and access there that was never there before. I think if it wasn't so hot this year, I think the grass would be looking better, but we'll have to work on that over the next year. But otherwise, there's new trees there that were put in with the, we had some extra trees that were from the street project. And one of the trees was from that 100-year celebration. We had that little ceremony down there. Otherwise, yeah, Lions Park is looking good too, so. Other park items to think about. We always have had some people that use the dog park quite frequently. From in the wintertime, from the northwest wind, maybe a block from that wind, adding a second shelter, having another fenced off area for different sized dogs, to putting in sand down by the water to a dock. There's people that use that park have lots of good ideas. So one thing I've mentioned to them is that maybe if, like how we got that park started, if there was just a little bit of donation money to go along with that, that would help out quite a bit if there were some other ideas that came along. We've talked about, I know Laura has talked about adding outdoor fitness equipment either along our trails or out in Willow Creek somewhere. Sometimes you can get grants from health insurance companies or hospitals for that type of equipment. DRS field lights is a very looming high number fix. I think Joel put in a staff report that's inevitable that those will go out, we just don't know when. And so it's quite the hit if we have to budget for that or come up with that expense if it's, all of a sudden it's during the baseball season, I don't know what we're going to do. So disc golf course is more of a low cost, probably $5,000 to $20,000. You could get some kind of a disc golf course, and depending on signage and how many holes you put in, tree cutting and all that. And we used to have kind of a little historical group that got together. We had talked about doing a historical marker somewhere, maybe either by the Vets Memorial, by the feed mill, or somewhere in that area at some time down the road. I just talked either about the railroad or the history of Lonsdale. Skate park obstacles, those are things that we could put at the new hockey rink, and those would be portable. We just would need to figure out a spot for them to go in the winter. Volleyball nets need to be replaced this year or next year because those are getting old. Basketball hoops, we could put some of those up at the new hockey rink if we wanted to, or find a different spot for those. The one at JC Park does get used quite a bit. Play equipment updates, we talked about that earlier, getting some new equipment in. And then park signage, those signs are not cheap. Like we have one for City Hall, all the public facilities have them. And then the parks have those same signs. If it's double-sided, it ends up being close to $5,000. So if we wanted another sign for Idaho Street, for the new pavilion down there and the ice rink, that's about how much it would cost for a park sign.
The stuff that you're proposing, like in the hockey rink, would that be, I mean, is it conducive to that flooring, or would that scuff or damage the floors if you did the skateboard out?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna mark it up. I don't know how much damage it will, like, chips out of the concrete and stuff that would do. I guess we could talk with other cities and see what it's done to their,
I mean, the skate park is come and gone.
Right.
Many
Yeah.
times, yeah, yeah.
it kinda depends on who's in town. You know, yeah, the kids age out of it and then they move on to something different. It really doesn't take up that much room. Probably half the hockey rink could probably handle a few obstacles. Just depends on if you want ramps or just the grind rails or what you want to put
I'm
in there.
curious to see if the boards and everything would hold up, you know, if it inherent skateboard or.
I mean, it sure seems like a big, I mean, it's an Olympic event now, right?
Right.
It's a big deal,
Right.
skateboarding.
Yeah, it's just a matter of finding a big pad of either asphalt or concrete to put it
Right.
on.
Mayor's got a pretty big driveway.
Yeah,
Get off my lawn. DRS field, so the lights and all that, who actually uses the field? Is it just the Aces or who?
No, it'd be the Aces, there's is it Tri-City Legion this year?
High
Okay.
school.
And then
The high,
the Jokers?
The Joker.
The
Okay, so-
Jokers,
so
yeah,
they-
the high school.
Thanks U14 and above for their traveling ball too.
Okay.
You know, there's always been time, I mean, the ball club at one point would participate, maybe up to 50%, so it's not
Okay.
tax. But it's, yeah, it's a big, what
I
was,
just-
what was
yeah.
the soccer or the softball field? Wasn't that like 150 or?
I think we're gonna fall 150, I remember.
I think the last time you got a price was around 250,000.
For the DRS lights, yeah.
I would
It's just-
assume that, you know, there's always talk of them trying for the state bid, for the state tournament.
Right.
I
And
would
that's
think
one
when
of the-
that happens, there would be new lights and, you know, I think New Prague ended up sticking a couple $100,000 just in the maintenance of their field without the lights.
Right.
They could host that. I would assume that would be.
It's just
similar.
amazing, there's like Vesley or Union Hill, these small towns get right, the lights, and it's remarkable. It's a nice park though, that's for sure.
Another thing came up, the other day, I was at J.C. Park. Has there ever been any discussion about updating the restrooms at all? As far as, kind of getting a little
We've talked about
aged
it.
and dated and,
We've talked about it at the staff
Okay.
level.
What
Okay.
about, you must have, are you eliminating some outdoor porta potties, like at Fishka Park, there's there's not one in the parking lot anymore?
Oh, because we got the warming house and stuff.
that meets the requirements.
Yeah, but I guess my point is, when you get, you know, you get older people down at the parking lot, they probably don't care to walk away around. I don't know how much these satellites are.
130 a month?
And, you know, you just may want to consider having a couple more around. It's not a big number, just, you know. More for the walkers too, you know, the paths, you know. Anyway,
So it's some other park items that we're looking at, and I think the next slide shows some pictures of a few things. There's all sorts of different type of fitness parks. You can have them every so often along a trail or in more of a condensed area like shown on the top right there. And then Frisbee golf is, you know, you can lay out a course just like a regular golf course. You know, it's typically free for the public, and you just have to have those chain holes there at the end, those
what's
baskets.
the, like Cleary Lake has got the big holes, is that like, these are kickballs or something? You ever see that on a golf course? Or is that a Frisbee target, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's a
senior golf.
It should be for something. But yeah, they, you know, along the course, just off the green, for example, will
Yeah.
have a big.
It's a special, yeah, it's a big,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know if it's a special ball or.
And then the top left is showing something like, that's what a historical marker would look like, if we put that in, so. As far as land goes, there's always a need for more land. We've always talked about back to, equipment. some items that Public Works has talked about. I don't know if you wanna take this, Russ, some things that you were thinking about there for.
Well, for the new John Deere tractor that we'd like to put a plow in that so we can maintain the trails, better and quicker. The other thing that we would utilize is the overseeder, aerator overseeder. Those are the two items that I'm working with Joel on, trying to get budgeted for possibly next year. The other things that would be in the future is a salter, sander, box for the back of it, and then a spreader to put top dressing on our field and try to establish a better growth for some of the grass that we have. Aerating and split seeding, that's something that we could really use right now. Something that I'd even like to try to get done this fall yet at the soccer field. We'd like to spray the soccer field to kill all the clover and then seed, because all we got is clover right now. So it'd be nice to, can't do it yet because I don't think there's nothing going to be growing there if I spray the clover. So those are a couple items for the park department that we would like to see to be able to maintain the field better and the trails.
How wide is the John Deere tractor that's coming?
The width of the tractor, it's under the 8 foot.
So it fits the trail season?
Yep, it'd be the same width as a pickup.
Okay.
So yeah, going on to land needs. Of course, next to the JC Park is that big open area. I think they got rid of one stockpile. But someday for Public Works, storage, and future expansion of the park, always looking and have told Bryce County that we're interested in that land when they're ready to sell.
So how did they go that time? At one time, they were kind of considering it, right? Remember, Movie was talking about it, and then it just kind of went away, and I don't know if the county commissioner, I don't know if he did, probably didn't help too much here.
Yeah, they were thinking about it. I think that's when the MnDOT site opened up in Northfield, or they were looking at some type of consolidated northern Rice County shop. I think probably for political reasons, they chose not to pursue selling it at the time and constructing a new facility.
No, when he was here this spring or whatever, we were talking about the possibility of a combined facility. If we did something, has there been anything back on that?
No.
'Cause it seemed like it kind of piqued his interest. If we could do something together, there would be definitely a possibility.
Well, I just, maybe we gotta do it at a county board level or something. It just seems like we don't have much success at, the staff level, engineering level.
Yeah, I don't.
It's not a
Want to
problem
speak for
them,
people,
I
but
suppose.
I don't.
Yeah, well, right.
I think it's board level and.
Excuse me, Bart. I've been sitting in the back, but I ran out of popcorn, so. Sorry.
So, yeah, I guess that's something we could discuss again. I mean, that really would be the grand plan, big facility for the whole.
I label it blight and kick them out. Seriously, just say we don't need this in the town anymore, figure out where you wanna put it. I think we can get the citizens behind that. When I look at the use of that park down here, Your Honor, I think, that needs to be gone. We've talked about safety hazards of the kids playing in the sand, getting in there, it just doesn't fit us anymore. And if I'll take it up to the county commissioner, so let's just do it. So that's how I feel.
Next one.
Yeah, that would generate quite a bit of space, or needed space.
We talked about the Rice County shop land, somewhere on the edge of town. As development would come in, we'd be looking for land for a future sports complex, or working with the school to do that. We also would be looking for a potential site for a community center in the not near future, but probably the distant future. So obviously have gone through that a few times, trying to get a community center and,
Well, one nice thing, the land we have, we kinda got the complex set up, so, what is there 10 acres here? What do we have? For the police station, is it a 10-acre site?
That one is just on like 7.8.
and then moving on to our trail system, we have, around 11 miles of trails in Lonsdale. Mostly paved, some grass trails, and then, some boardwalk trails as well. John and Russ have been working on figuring out what our trail conditions are like. So they updated it again for this year. Of course, the ones that shown in red are areas that we need to address sooner than later. And then yellow would be the next highest priority, and the green ones are either new or still in very good condition. So a lot of our development came in between 2000 and 2006, and so now we're coming up on, just like the streets, they're all kind of coming up at the same time, where we need to think about starting to budget for maintenance of the trails.
If I may, Russ, on, behind, Grand, where that was torn up, is that gonna be?
Storm sewer was fixed?
Yeah, is that scheduled? Okay. I didn't know if they were waiting for settlement or something okay.
So I think in the previous budget meeting, we thought maybe holding off the street recon for a year or two and kind of address some of these needs. I don't know if that's still the appetite, and just do a complete overhaul of the trail system. And then we talked about maybe doing the same thing like with public works, equipment,
Mhm.
kind of kicking that around.
Well, this big section of red over here too, isn't that where we have all the problems with yeah, undermining, so.
So is there a long-term solution for that if we reconstruct it?
Muskrat hunting?
There's a couple different options that we've seen from the DNR. How long are they gonna work? Are they gonna work? We've tried a couple different things already. So it's doing that, getting it done, and seeing how it's gonna hold up. I mean, they're pesky little buggers, can only do so much. That's what their DNR is recommending, is cutting a trench and putting a blanket down, or filling that trench with rock.
Russ, do we know if we get high usage on those trails? Just because they were put in doesn't necessarily that they're used. So, if they're a problem area, would it be better to, I don't know, reroute or do something else with it? Do we know how much use? Is it high use along there? I know I've walked it several times, but.
And at one point we had talked about switching to a boardwalk in there, but I think that'd be very expensive compared to asphalt back.
Sure.
Or some sort of something.
We have talked about just bringing it out to the street.
Well, that's what I was,
Closing that.
right.
We still need it for access for the sanitary sewer. So we still need the trail there, for say it's a gravel or a pathway.
Right.
But you can sign it.
Yeah, they're doing it in Minneapolis, they jump, they've taken part of the street and dedicated it walking and biking, and, that's what I was thinking along that route, is it has the nice white asphalt there, and the build-out for the homes is, I think that's built out now, so we wouldn't have to worry about that. Keeping it for an access for utilities would be a great idea, but Joy and I have actually walked on the asphalt on the street, because we wanted to avoid that, so.
It might be best if we're gonna do this whole capital outlay investment in this walking path, that we would, John, just look at the whole system and identify, the best option. I mean, I think the paths
What we'd like to do is start with, the bad sections, work on them, and keep budgeting every year, doing so
Yeah,
much.
no, I understand the phasing, but I mean, you should have the overall plan. Is it gonna be just to rebuild everything, or is it to be, like you say, eliminate some of it, or whatever the grand plan is?
A master plan.
Yeah, master plan, and then I thought maybe if you had that, then maybe we'd start with the park board, see if they think that's conducive to what we're trying to do in town, and then just set aside the dollars. I mean, we're talking a lot of money, so that's why if you, you know, if you stop a street project for a year or two, if we talk, maybe I think it, you know, at least from what I see, those walking paths are kind of a top priority. They're used, big demand.
Well, even with the COVID, you know, they wanted folks to get out, and
Right.
that doesn't prohibit the winter walking. I mean,
Right, right.
Well, some of these have been repaired already, and they have been undermined again by the animals.
Yeah.
You know, we don't wanna throw good money after bad.
No, no.
You know,
Yeah, that's what we
We
want,
got-
part
we
of
have
the
to-
solution, right?
we need a
Right.
better solution.
Right,
22? Calorie? Oh,
The next slide shows kind of some, I think you've all seen it, but some of the conditions of the bad trails that we have. There's obviously some pictures of the trail we're talking to on the right. So I think they're just kind of leaving that as gravel for now. But yeah, I mean, it could be 135,000 for the next 10 years, you know, to, just to tackle some of these trails. So it's, that's just an estimate, but there's,
You know, I mean, really, in retrospect, we've been pretty fortunate, because they were constructed really under the development cost. So it's not as been a taxpayer cost, per se, other than the maintenance, and, you know, so it really,
and then, so that's the old trails or the existing trails, and then there's obviously, as development comes again, we'd like to plan and construct some new trails up to the future city campus. Right now, we have the boardwalk down by the lumberyard. It's kind of a major crossroads. If we ever do reduce the speeds or put a roundabout in there or something, then we'd like to get a trail up that hill and then to the new complex. Some crossings along Highway 19, connection there. A lot of people use that Willow Creek Heights through the Rezac Nature Preserve area, so we would like to connect it to Kalina Park and then also connect it past the compost site along Garfield, so people can make loops and not just dead ends. And then there's some safe routes to school projects over on the other side of town by the school that would be some signals and then some extension of pavement, so there's some landing areas for kids that aren't on the roadway or on the shoulder, so. Those are some new trail connections and ideas, and the next page kind of lists them out, so they're shown on that map. And then Lane talked about recreation. We are part of 2 school districts, so there's multiple opportunities for the community to experience community education and what the schools have to offer. As far as recreation goes, currently we're working with TCU for our summer rec program and other items that we work with them on. And in the past, we have worked with Three Rivers Park District, and I know TCU is now kind of working with them as we've partnered with those guys together. This future, as the town grows, we'd like to expand the summer rec program, get additional programming and equipment, make use of our facilities, so we have sand volleyball and softball and tennis and potentially pickleball. Unfortunately, it takes kind of a go-getter to get those things, and so we're always looking for go-getters that want to start leagues or tournaments. But everybody I know is busy, and but as the town grows, it'd be good to have some of those to use the facilities. Encouraging more youth sports to use the facilities, potentially a future community or senior center, and then just more focus, being part of 2 different school districts, and then even TCU is 3 different towns. Always, making sure Lonsdale is focused on and is a main priority for recreation and education.
I think some of these facilities that we're talking about, such big numbers, we have to go back and look at the partnerships, like we've had, for example, with the villages and stuff like that. I think, maybe you partner with the schools, for some of these facilities, or I think, like you said, maybe partner with the county on county shop space, or all those kind of things. I think you gotta have more players in the game, within a town of 5,000 people. I mean, that's the thing, but I certainly think they're all things definitely needed for community growth. I think, like I say, if we get to the county commissioner, or we get, I'm just appreciate that TCU is here again, and we've had some good partnerships with, Nature Preserve and all those kind of things there. I mean, I think that's what it's gonna take to make it affordable,
Well, I think maybe to revisit, we have the civic center at the church that sits empty for many hours in a day.
Right.
Maybe that's something to connect up with and see if there's something that could be partnered up with them.
There used to be adult volleyball in there and basketball.
Exactly. Or there were open gym days that the city had purchased time, basically rented the place for hours on end.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So just the last slide is, so there's hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars worth of things to think about through all those slides. We know that the budget is very tight this year, and so kind of focusing on necessities. The archery targets, just for safety reasons, do need to be replaced within the next year. That's why we got that grant, and be looking to replace those in spring. They're even some of the structure around the targets may need a little bit of help. As far as some landscaping, we always have those types of projects every year. We're going to need some money to finish up Trichka Park with some trees and some landscaping. We would like to talk about phase 3. Who knows when that will happen, but at least plan for that. So we would just try to do most of that in-house. Put some more dog waste station boxes around town. And then some landscaping and maintenance work for the maintenance department. And then, really, trails is the big hitter over the next 5 to 10 years that we're gonna have. Those are just such high dollar amounts. Try to figure out what we're gonna do to tackle them all in a couple years, or over a span of 10 years, or how we want to do that. And then as far as recreation, just our annual contribution to TCU for Lane and for his programs. So that's kind of the park board, and then obviously we have all of our park board members out here if they have any comments or questions.
Yeah, just before we start with them, I just want to add, some of you are here for planning and zoning meeting that's at 7:30 tonight. We'll try and wrap up by 7:15, 7:20, just for an FYI. But yeah, I think we certainly would like to hear from the park board members. Maybe Mickey or somebody. What do you feel is the most important thing that should be done in our community? What would you say is our priority?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, Your Honor and council members, because of COVID, we were doing a lot of walking this year, and the trails are very used. To answer Mr. Cherney, they are used a lot. I think those need to be fixed. I also think that we need to really try hard to get in the disc golf and the pickleball. Those are things that, something that kids can do, and we still kind of have nothing for that age group. Once you hit 12 here in town,
Yeah.
there has to be something for them. And there's so much vandalism here in town, I have to think that that's the age group that's maybe doing it, the 12s and up, I don't know. But like, just for instance, we have this beautiful birch tree by the hockey rink. I'm walking by there this early spring, and it has stripes going around it. It's white birch with big brown stripes. Some kid figured out they could peel that birch off, and they took it all the way down to every layer, down to rod tree. So that isn't good for our trees, and it's like, I feel like we take 2 steps forward and 20 backwards sometimes. The deck that we put out by the school, which should have been a really great addition, the kids are going there with Sawzalls,
Yeah.
and they're sawing all the pipes out of there, and we've had that fixed at least 3 times already, if not
Right.
4.
Right.
And there's a few that are bent again. I don't know, I wanna see things happen here, and
Right.
we've talked about a lot of really cool things that we could do, but it's frustrating to be on the park board and see all this vandalism, to be honest.
Right. And maybe that's something we have to talk to the police about a little bit too, to kind of, you want to catch a light service? Yeah.
I really think we should have some cameras.
You know, that pickleball is just remarkable, you know, especially down south, it's such a fad, once people get into it. And I think even if we had just, 4 courts or 6 courts or something, it gets to be a big deal, it gets to be contagious. You know.
Can the tennis court be modified or
Yes, you can.
play?
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, so there's a starting
Is there
point.
tennis players there? I don't know if
There's
there's
some,
Once in a while, yes. But I mean,
or the hockey rink.
Or we pave the old hockey rink and we put them in there.
Yeah, maybe something
Would
like
that
that.
be big enough for one?
Yeah, yeah.
They're not very big.
Yeah, they're a big deal. you know. I think in winter, some of the schools, I think, have indoor pickleball now, from what I've heard.
So we need something in town for that age group.
Yeah. You have other, why don't you add to that? You got other ideas, thoughts?
Well, my ideas are too big for budget, oh no.
Well, maybe you can start and we'll pare it down a little bit.
I'm a big advocate of the outdoor fitness equipment. I really think that's great for all ages. And I truly do believe that teen age is, we're missing the mark on them totally. They have nothing to do here.
Right, right.
Summertime would be easy enough if we could get some kind of a water, especially this year. I mean, it is so hot, you don't want to be outside unless you have the water. So I think that would be a huge bonus for that age group, I just really do.
With
And
turning,
for me.
with turning the fire hydrants on every once in a while and have the kids play in those, I know I've seen towns do that, would that help anything?
I don't think so, that's a safety issue there, we have to really think about it as a organized city and really focus on it.
One thing I did see in Eden Prairie yesterday was, you know, they must have a lake there, but then they must have dredged out an area, you know, a natural, I think you had one of the bullet points, or kind of a natural area where it's like a beach, a natural
And
beach where the
that's
kids
what I
play.
want to do,
And I'm just wondering if that, you know, if the, Rizek's pond there, or Cleanest Pond, if that's conducive to something like that.
It is.
You think something, just dredge it out, just, I mean, it doesn't have to be, yeah.
They drain them as long
Yeah.
as you have the proper irrigation and the proper, filtration, which
Yeah.
I'm not an expert, I have no idea what's involved with it. But I did ask Ben to try to find somebody to come talk to us about it.
Yeah, and that may be something more affordable. I mean, you know, maybe a couple hundred grand, you
But I
get a
don't
pretty
know if
nice.
it's portable, but
Yeah.
I think that might fix maybe the goose problem.
Yeah.
Get rid of that and put all sand in there. And
Yeah.
we have one at the campground where I stay, and they have a bunch of, water parks going down in it, and.
They actually dredge it out and put some natural sand in there and.
That's exactly
Yeah,
what they
yeah.
do, and every year it's drained, and I don't know what, filtration pumps that come up, so you can see it.
Yeah. I think that's probably more realistic than water parks and those kind of things for a town of our size, especially since we have the,
And it isn't such a big, yeah, it isn't such a big price tag at one, and you should have done it on,
right. Good point.
so.
Good. Well, Jeanette, since you're not in soccer anymore, what's the next big thing?
Taking a little break.
Well, what do you see as a priority in town or for?
I have to agree with that middle school kids, so that's teams, pre-teams.
Okay.
Focusing on them, and then outdoor activities.
Yeah, good. Now, we get a lot of compliments on our parks, our walking paths, our amenities. You guys have done a really good job on the board.
I can definitely say over the last year was the most we've ever seen on the trails.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was COVID, people didn't have much to do, and
Right.
sure were used.
So,
And of course, I'd love to see more landscaping.
and if the audience, I brought it up before we started, but Laura was in charge of the flowers in Lonsdale this year. Aren't they beautiful? I mean, they really done a really good job. Public Works takes care of them. And, really nice. Anything else you want to touch on? You know, we should actually do this, not to change the subject, but we should have a joint meeting with the planning and zoning. Just because I think, as you've talked a couple of times, we're probably within a year or two of being all the lots in town sold out. And I think we should identify, you know, which land would be, you know, more conducive to development or easier to develop. And just, because I've talked to a couple of builders and just the costs now, to construct these lots, I mean, you're gonna have $100,000 just in construction costs for a city lot. But I think we're almost gonna have to start, you know, recruiting or whatever, some of these developers sooner than later. Like I say, you know, take at least a year to build one, you know, and if you're gonna be full, I mean, there's a chance you could be full next year, you know. But anyway, not to change the subject, but maybe you wanna, according to the next, one of the budget meetings with the planning and zoning board.
Sure.
Can you get a vision, but. Anyway, back to the parks. So it's the middle-aged children and the walking paths.
$4 million.
Nothing money can fix.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the one thing I think our bond council did look into, we could do a 10-year bond for $100,000 and get 900 plus thousand, you know, to do some one-time things, you know, whether it be probably trails for sure, the DRS lights, if that was something the council wanted to do over the next couple of years, so that's an option too.
Right.
As nice as it would be to phase the trails, it would be nice to get those done in 1 or 2 year things so we can get back to the streets, because I mean, the streets aren't gonna last by themselves over 5-6 years, you know.
Right. I think after this, what do we have, a couple of phases of the Old Town yet? Or maybe it's 3 phases or something like that, but yeah. And then at least we're into modern era
Right,
infrastructure,
just
you
the
know.
milling, you know.
Right, right,
Yeah.
yeah,
With
yeah, yeah. Anything
it
else
for
to add? Do you wanna do some on Public Works, do you wanna save it for the next meeting, or you got about 8 to 10 minutes?
Well, I don't think it's, yeah, let's,
You wanna be done at 7:20?
you know, let's just get through this and it's
Okay.
12 slides and
Okay.
get the main points.
Or we can do it over here or back here? Here, okay. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
So for our street department, we're looking at, hedge mills and overlays. This would be from the pavement rating map. Industrial Drive from 19, Willow Creek Drive. That would be the first one. Second one would be Industrial Drive, Willow Creek Drive. A little confusing because it'd be Willow Creek from Industrial going south on Willow Creek, around the curve to Florida. And this one's Willow Creek going south to Glenview around the curve. And then the 4th Avenue up the hill to Industrial, 4th Circle Drive is falling apart just on the, it would be the west side, coming down the hill. We've patched it a couple times. We've got some, at the time the streets were done, most of this pavement had a state spec that they don't use anymore. They had problems with it, so they went away from this, and we ended up using those same mixes back in the day because it was state. We always go with the DOT mix. So they found out that there were problems with it, and because of our development, all came in within about the same time. We're finding we're having the same problems with this material in different areas. So this is all off of the pavement rating that was done in 2007, slide will show you the breakdown engineer estimates on these four different projects. We're not looking at doing them all. This is just engineer estimates. The next slide would tell you
More surprises.
I didn't know they were gonna pop up like that.
I didn't either. I'll just,
I never seen them do that before when we were going through it. Total expenses would be the 271, which will not be possible. Then you got the indirect costs, so that jumps it up to the 331 for the next 3 to 4 years. And that's our small project. So under the normal budgeting, we do crack fill every year. One more time. Okay, so crack fill, we do about 80. The reason we want to set at 85 this year, we did about 65 last year, is the prices of material. We'd like to try to do 4 pallets of material, so that's going to be around $8,500. And then to add to that, in another line item in the budget, is a rental, would be about $2,500 in that budget for the rental of the equipment. So this would be just for materials. And the next slide is going to show you where we're going to look at crack fill for next year.
oops.
So the yellow would be the areas that we'd be doing crack fill in. The previous years are in the other colors. This map is in the process of being designed with our software at our GIS legally done. But still got some tweaks in it. We can't get it to print off of that system yet. So they're working on that at WSP, so we just had to hand draw them for now, for this presentation. So that'd be where we'd be looking at crack filling next year. And if there's less cracks, we just keep moving to different areas to comb over them. So the next slide would give you our maintenance budget that we started last year. We did get 6 catch basins done for the $7,500. We ended up getting 6 catch basins done. So then crosswalk paint and curb paint, we are having problems this year getting paint. We don't know if we're going to be able to get paint yet. We're still searching for crosswalks and for the curbs. We're having a hard time getting paint. There's no paint out there to be available. Supposedly there's something with some of the products that go into the paint that they're having problems getting because of cold. Sidewalk repairs, blacktop patching and maintenance for that, $20,000, and then sign replacement. We've been doing this for about 5 years already. We're going through and replacing all of the street signs that are failed or fading. And we're also going from in the old parts of town, they were a 6-inch plate, and now the requirements are a 9-inch. So we're trying to weed out those signs that don't qualify anymore.
And that's not in the reconstruct areas?
Correct. Yep. We are doing the reconstructs also, but as we go with the reconstructs, those are mostly the 6-inch plates, so that's where we're getting them taken out.
And that'd be a project cost, correct?
No, we're not doing those as a project cost. We haven't, because there's only usually like 5, signs in the project. Very minor amount. And then we would like to do a street re-rating of our streets again to see where they are at this point from 2019. Because we did mill and overlays in areas, so it's going to change that whole layout. Did you have that, be able to pull that up or not? The
open up the wrong file.
Okay. It's still off of that street rating, so it's off of those numbers is where we got those areas that we need to do work at. Seal coat is something that we'd like to also do, but we know that there isn't gonna be a money. So we're looking at doing seal coat, but it's looking at pushing it out to 2025. That would put, say, 10th Avenue, where we did a mill and overlay. That will put that out to, that was done in 2015. So that seal coat would be about 10 years if we can do it in 25. Once we have more money available, we can start moving that stuff up also. So that'd be that area. And then we'd like to do area 5, reconstruct. That'd be everything in the southeast. So those projects would be 9 years, 8 years, and 7 years out. And they say you'd like to do a seal coat after a project anywhere from 5 to 7. So we're getting a little out there on some of those with seal coats, but it isn't gonna hurt them that much. When I started, we didn't do any seal coating. We got into seal coating years after I was here. And then we got into that program, and those streets were done in 78, most of those streets. So the sooner you do them, the better it is for them, but they can wait till that time if we need to afterward. This is a map showing where we have done seal coats in the past, where we'd like to go with those seal coats in 2025. It would be in the yellow there in the center. The next slide actually shows you what we would like to propose for next year's budgeting is for Industrial Drive on 19 to 4th Avenue. And then that would include going up 4th Avenue to that 4th Avenue corner or loop road. The reason you'd like to try to tie all that in at once is because of the severity of that 4th Avenue. And then the back belt, and then our routine maintenance on the catch basins and that will put us at about 140 or 181,500 for next year's budget. And then the next slide would show you what we'd be looking at in the future years. As of, this might change because of if we do that re-rate, things might have to be moved around. But as of right now, off of the ratings, this would be where we'd be looking at going in the future for milling overlay. And what we'd be looking at for total prices for the next couple of years' budgets if things stay the same in the street department. Any questions? And this is just street. We're not gonna do with equipment or, we're just talking street maintenance here. One line on line item pretty much on the road.
Okay, I suppose we should probably start wrapping this up and we'll continue at the next.
Yeah, is there any questions on that, on the street part of it, or I should say street maintenance?
We were talking about renting equipment, where is that?
That would be the milling machine for the crack fill
Okay.
and the pop. We do that every year.
Don't we have a piece of equipment for, or is that just, that's for patching? That's
That's
patching. That's right. Okay.
I don't know, we probably should end this. So you wanna end now? I suppose that's the right thing to do, right?
Whatever. There's discussion, or if you want to end it, whatever, it doesn't matter.
When are we meeting again?
I'd have to look, but for some reason the 16th is.
16th of August?
I do think maybe you wanna see if, planning and zoning could come to one of those meetings.
Yeah,
Also,
August
cause we should have that
16th,
same
6 p.m.
discussion like we had tonight with P and Z.
And then August 30th.
So,
I think that the roads were definitely gonna have to prioritize.
Oh, I'm sorry, no, on the Thursday's agenda.
But, but I do want, I was thinking having you spearhead that thing with the county.
So what is
I will do
16th
that.
and
I will do
You know, we gotta get that off
And
the
the
dime
30th.
there.
I'll be there 6.
that. I already, Sarah, get out and talk to her and reach her.
Okay, well, there was a good discussion with the park board tonight. For those of you that just came, we had our budget meeting. We started at 6 tonight. We met with the park board and just looked at some of the maintenance improvements needed and some of the future goals for the city. So it was a good meeting. So is there anything else for the budget meeting we want to discuss? Or are we good for tonight?
Apologize for being late. I was at the St. Louis Park and traffic is kind of back to normal.
Do
No,
anything to add?
no, the two main things were Park and Rec and Street Department, and then the stuff that was put on the end of this agenda from the previous agenda. I'll just add that to the next one with, I don't know if we're gonna have P and Z at that meeting or the rest of the budget.
Wait, was it the 16th at 6 p.m.?
16th of August, yes.
At 6 p.m., right?
Yep, correct.
Okay. All right.
Move we adjourn?
Motion by Councilman Kadada.
Second.
Second by Councilman Palava. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned. The chairs are warm for the planning and zoning members.